Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today. So, let me know if you're here live or catching the replay because either way, I want you to comment below as we go. I'd love to hear what resonates with you and if there's something you'd like to dive deeper into. We have a bunch of new members in the group, so welcome, welcome, welcome. In dating burnout support, we focus on constructive conversations and empowerment in your journey to that relationship you want in your life. And we go live every week to discuss topics that may be holding you back. So always feel free to post here or DM me with any topics you want to discuss. All right, today we're going to talk about something that could be silently holding you back. And it came from a message that somebody sent me. So hopefully, if it's a requested topic for one person here, it will resonate with you. It's the comparison trap of the first love theory. So you might have seen this concept trending on social media. It's often linked to men. In a lot of the TikToks, it was linked to men. But let me tell you, it's absolutely not just men, and it's something that can impact anyone. So the idea is really simple. We have a sometimes early in life, though not necessarily early in life, intense love experience. And it's sometimes like our, what we call our first love. And we spend the rest of our dating lives kind of unconsciously chasing that feeling, or sometimes very consciously. So I'm curious who here has been in love before? And drop a comment if you have. I've been there too. And for me, it wasn't even early in life, but it was such an intense experience that I thought, this is it. Like, this is what all the songs are about. But looking back, though, I can see that it was so intense, it never could have lasted. So here's why. When you start with such a high, there's nowhere to go but down. And while those feelings are amazing, lasting love doesn't start at the peak. It grows and deepens over time. And that growth is where real intimacy and stability come from. And that's the foundation for a healthy and strong relationship. So you might be feeling some resistance around this idea that the kind of love experience you've had before might not be true love or the only type of love. But let's think about this really logically for a moment. So, is every feeling of sadness the same? No, it's not. Sometimes sadness is tied to grief. Other times it's mixed with joy and it's very bittersweet, like crying at a wedding. And sometimes it's kind of a sadness over a void or an emptiness. They're all sadness, but they feel a little different and they come in kind of like these different flavors. So, if we apply that to love, let's think about all the ways that you love. You may love your family, your friends, your children, your pets. Each love is different, but they're all still love. And romantic love is the exact same. It comes in different flavors, like ice cream. It's still ice cream. It's just different flavors. And depending on who you are, you might think mint chip is better than rocky road. It's still ice cream. I love ice cream. I love a lot of different flavors of ice cream. Depends on the day, right? So it doesn't change that it's ice cream. So here's the thing. Love evolves as you do. You grow, you change. So it's not really fair to expect that every romantic relationship to match one specific feeling or definition of true love that you've had before. And for a lot of people, especially when they're young and they have that intense first love experience, life is a lot less complicated. And usually you're living in a time where your emotions are a little less regulated. And so everything is a little bit more intense. But that kind of intensity is not something that's easy to like live with on a daily basis. We, as you grow and you have other responsibilities, you have other things going on in your life you have to get done, and you can't just be spend that time like obsessed with another person, right? So, I mean, you've probably heard people or even yourself, and it's like really common in media, especially like reality shows, but you hear it a lot and it's a completely normalized statement. And it's like, I know what love feels like, and this isn't it, right? If they're breaking up with someone that they've been with for a long time, or they're dating someone where everything is great, but they're not getting that same feeling. I know what love feels like, and this isn't it. But like, can you honestly say you've experienced every kind of love? Could you really know at this stage of your life what true love is or isn't? Like, it's highly unlikely because love is as individual as we are. And every love relationship you have, every romantic love relationship you have, is going to be different because every person is different, and therefore every relationship dynamic is different. And I say it all the time because it's true. This mindset of like chasing a past feeling, it can hold you back from fully exploring the connections that are like right in front of you. And so that's why we're here today. We're going to break free from this trap and open ourselves up to the unique types of love each relationship could offer. So, first of all, if this resonates with you at all, let's start with recognizing highlight reel bias. So, as I've said, like, first loves often seem pretty magical in hindsight, not because they were perfect, but because they felt like new. And new experiences really heighten your emotions. They make them feel like more intense and vivid. And over time, our brains will kind of edit out the ordinary or difficult moments, leaving us with this highlight reel version of the relationship. This idealized memory, it can make every subsequent relationship feel sort of dull or inadequate in comparison. So, our brains are kind of wired to romanticize the past, particularly during transformative periods like a first love. So you might remember like butterflies and late night talks, but you might forget sort of like the arguments or incompatibilities, especially early on. I mean, were you really worried about whether your values aligned with somebody or if you really had the same goals in life? Um, Anyone who's lived a little longer knows that, the best laid plans are not exactly as you think they are, and that things change all the time, and life is a winding road. So no relationship, past or present or future imagined relationship, should have to compete with like a filtered memory like this, right? You can just say like this was the experience and keep it in its place, but it shouldn't be a standard bearer for future relationships. So the next thing to think about. I don't know if any of this is resonating. If it is, please say so. If you feel like you've been comparing relationships, it's a normal thing to compare things. It's kind of how we evaluate, but in this case, it can really be holding you back. It can cause you to walk away from a relationship that was actually very good. Um, and this kind of, it makes me sad to think about because when I was matchmaking, I met with a lot of people who would tell me about past relationships. I always wanted to get that experience from them and understand kind of how they looked at things. And so I'd let them tell me the story. And there were a lot of times where people told me a story where it was really hard for them to explain why they broke up with somebody. And they would just sort of end it with like, I wasn't sure I was in love with them. And and sometimes these were, many years long relationships really on a path towards a deeper commitment that ended because they weren't sure about the love that they felt, but they couldn't really describe how they thought it should feel. Um, and sometimes they would tell me that story with regret, and they would tell me that, you know, they sometimes wonder if they made the right decision. So this is why this is really important. And I feel like if this resonates with you at all, like, please think carefully on this. And if you think you've been doing this, it's okay to keep those memories as they are, but again, we don't hold them as a standard bearer. So the next thing to think about is to embrace that things are different, but they're still meaningful. So because as we mature, our understanding of love evolves. You know, a lot of experts explain that the qualities of long-term love, such as like stability, trust, mutual respect, they're deeper and more enduring than the spark that early infatuation defines as a love, right? Um, that excitement that people chase. So as you shift to calmer, more secure connections that build over time, that is that lays a stronger foundation over time because, you know, as I've said before, that excitement, it doesn't go on forever. It just it the only way forward is down when it's that exciting in the beginning. So, if you think of it as like a campfire, right? It's like a quick burning spark. Um, but long-term love is steady and it's warm and it keeps you feeling safe and supported. You might think you might think that because a relationship feels stable instead of intense, it's less meaningful, but in reality, it's a sign of emotional safety and growth. So, what I would suggest you do if you've really been holding on to this idea of love being very exciting and fiery and intense is to kind of reframe your expectations. And I always am like journal, and write in longhand whenever you can. Um, Journaling about the qualities you value now versus like what mattered to you back then when you might have had your first love experience or what you think is true love, and see where the growth and the gap is, and see where it aligns with where you are today, because I bet you've changed. I bet things are different for you now. Your priorities are different, your values are different, the way you look at life is different. It doesn't mean you're a completely different person, but you, as you grow, you learn and you change the lenses over your eyes, right? So the third thing, this is going to be kind of short because I talk fast when I get really excited about a topic, and this is one that I think is exciting because people just don't talk about it that much. Um, so you want to build on today and not thinking about yesterday. So when you cling to a memory of first love, it prevents you from being fully present in your current relationships. And love thrives. It grows in the here and now. It's your daily actions, right? Your daily choices. And it's based on your present needs and desires and not this idealized version of your past. So making this shift might feel like you're letting go of a piece of your identity, but think of it as like making space. It's actually an opportunity to redefine what love means to you today. And you know, you're letting go of like unrealistic expectations tied to the first love that might be sabotaging your dating journey. So, people, like I said, people might end promising relationships because they didn't feel the same way they did before. And like, you shouldn't. A good relationship is not static. It grows, it changes. Your feelings change and evolve as you grow together. So if your feelings stay exactly the same through the whole relationship, you're not growing and you're not deepening your relationship, which like both of those things are not good. Both of those things in any phase of life, like you want to be growing, you want to be learning, okay? So here's an exercise that I give out a lot. So create a list of what matters to you most in a partner right now. So it might include like emotional availability or shared values or, kind of communication style. Um, and think about if that describes the person that you were in love with, that you have this like intense love feeling with. Because if it's not, if it's not the same, then point proven, right? You're different. You want different things now. And the other thing is that when you're meeting new people, just really practice some mindfulness and pay attention how a person makes you feel in the moment when you're with them, and don't compare them to a previous relationship. It is a normal brain trap. Just try to pause in your thinking. Um, I had a really good tip that I have used for a long time, and I wish I knew who had given it to me, but it was that when you're thinking you're in a narrative that you know isn't serving you and you need to interrupt it, you just think, what's my next thought? And that'll make your brain pause and search for the next thought. And that's your opportunity to change direction. So if you're having negative thoughts, you're starting to compare, you're starting to self sabotage, you just go, what's my next thought? And then that pause allows you to change to an affirmation, being mindful, just like really thinking about if you're, how the chair feels under you, any sounds you're hearing in the moment. Like right now, I'm hearing somebody working on their fence next door. There's a sawing sound, very present in that feeling. So, um, the more you get used to that, the easier it becomes to release that comparison trap. So, just to, in summary, I would love to hear from you if if you've been in love before, if you feel like you compare it, if you've ever felt like you're chasing that feeling again. And if you want to share like how old you were or any thoughts you've had about what I've shared here. But to, to summarize, breaking free from first love comparisons, it isn't about forgetting that experience, but seeing it for what it truly was, which was a meaningful chapter. It's not your whole story. And when you stop chasing the ghost of a first love, you open yourself up, you make space for building a relationship with a person with the person you've become, right? You want something that matches who you are now. So please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments or posts. Your experiences could help others in the group. That is the whole point, is that we constructively support each other here. And if you want to dive deeper into your own journey, hop on a free call with me to discuss your situation and goals. I promise no matter what, you'll come back with something of value, even if it's just one call. So comment ready. I'll do the rest. And for December, I'm giving out a free one-on-one session this month to someone in the group who wants to have that conversation. So don't put it off, because next week we're going to discuss your 2025 goals and what you can do now to set yourself up for the year that you imagined. And I would love if you want to share your goals. I want to hear from you. Okay. So